All right. We're just waiting for the time to start. Oh, it's 9 o'clock now. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Anthony. There might not be anyone on right now since this is my first live stream. But we'll get started. So this new live stream will be me streaming about mainly Jesus's parables and symbolism in the Bible, lots of different Bible stuff relating to Jesus's parables mainly. Because in Christian culture, Jesus' parables take his parables are really important, and they are important to me too. So I like talking about them. I like learning about them. So that's what inspired this channel to get started. Now, if you're coming in from YouTube, you can type in the chat. If you're coming in from Facebook, I think they also have a chat option. If you're coming in from twitch.tv, for those of my gamer and more tech savvy friends, there's also obviously the chat system there. So feel free to drop a chat, say hi. Feel free to say hi. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can find me at twitch.tv/Anthony Thomas Lim. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Anthony Thomas Lim. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Anthony Thomas Lim. I also have a Facebook page for those of you who are getting to there through my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Parable-lic Bible Talk. And for those of you who want to support me, the donate location can be found here below at projectanthony.com/donate. All right, so let's get started. I figured that hey. So I'm going to be streaming from my phone. Yes. Don't hack into my phone, y'all. But yeah. So I'll be streaming from my phone because I mainly use my phone for Bible study. There's an app, I have my Bible apps on it, my audio Bible apps on it, my Bible search app is on it. So I use my phone a lot, and so you're gonna be throughout these streams, you're going to be seeing me on my phone, learning, going through the different scriptures, going through searching and stuff. Anyway, yeah. All right. So I guess I'll start with let's see, sower and the seed. Sower and seed parable. So let's see. This one has just the one in Matthew. Is it only in Matthew? I'm not entirely sure. But we'll just go to the one in Matthew. Oh no, it's also in Mark. Yep. We'll go to the one in Mark. Wayside. Yes. Mark 4. Okay. So we'll start here. I'll read it aloud. And he began again to teach by the seaside, and there was gathered unto him a great multitude. So he entered into a ship and sat in the sea, and the whole multitude was by the sea on the land. He taught them many things by parables, and said unto them this his doctrine. Hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow, and it came to pass, as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. And some fell on stony ground, where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprang up, because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, because it had no root, it withered away. Some fell upon thorns, and thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no fruit. And other fell on good ground, and did yield fruit that sprang up and increased, and brought forth some 30, some 60, and some 100. And he said unto them, He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. And he was alone, and they that were about him with the 12 asked of him the parable. And he said unto them, Unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God. But unto them that are without, all these things are done in parables, that seeing they may see and not perceive, and hearing they may hear and not understand, lest at any time they should be converted, and their sin should be forgiven them. And he said unto them, Know ye not this parable? How then will ye know all parables? And so I want to emphasize this important part at the top. Know ye not this parable? How then will you know all parables? Of course, I'm using the King James Version, but the ye is you all. Anyway, and so, know ye not this parable? How then will you know all parables? So here he is implying that this one parable, gives understanding for all other parables. And not just all of Jesus's parables, but in this one he says all parables, like all across the board. Every single parable, moral story, mystery, riddle. Hold on. Alright, sorry. There was the fan. I might have gotten too loud. But okay. Alright. So yes, all the parables across the board. And so this is a huge claim. This is a huge claim from Jesus. And I think this parable, if you go several layers deep and you think critically and out of the box, it can encompass pretty much everything in the world today. It is the parable of parables. To quote the phrasing of the Lord of the Rings, this is the parable to rule them all, or this is the parable. Anyway, it is the parable of parables. And so we're gonna, throughout all the talks and live streams that I'll be covering regarding a lot of Bible topics and how to apply the parables, we're gonna come to this parable, back to this parable a lot. And this parable is a very, very interesting parable to know. It'll increase your understanding of the Bible and Jesus' teachings and morality and spiritual things. It'll help all of that the more you understand this parable. So yeah, we're going to continue. Alright, the sower soweth the word. This is verse 14. Yep. The sower soweth the word. And these are they by the wayside, where the word is sown. But when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately, and taketh away the word that was sown in their hearts. And, so this is the one that fell by the wayside. These are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root in themselves, but so endure for a time. Afterward, when affliction and persecution ariseth for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. These are they which are sown among thorns, which such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lusts of other things entering in, choke the word, and it becometh unfruitful. These are they which are sown on the good ground, such as hear the word, and receive it, and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100. And he said unto them, oh, that's the end of that parable, sower and seed. And, so yeah, that concludes the explanation, or not concludes, but that is the end of the explanation of that parable as it's recorded in the Bible. So this is one of the very few parables that Jesus speaks about where he actually gave an interpretation afterwards. He said it was because, it was to his disciples that the mysteries of God were being revealed. So it's very precious because he doesn't do that for all parables. So that's one thing to note. This is important enough for there to be an explanation in the Bible to explain it. Yeah. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to go a little deeper into this parable. And you'll kind of get a feel of why I named this live stream, or why I name the topic of these live streams parable-lic. Parable-lic. It's a play on the word parabolic, but it's Parable-lic Bible Talk. We talk about parables, lots and lots of parables. Mainly the parables of Jesus and how they apply to every other parable and every other mystery, and the rest of the Bible, of course. But we're gonna go into this parable. We're gonna analyze it. We're gonna talk about it. And yeah, all right. So let's start. So this is about okay, so here at the end of verse 15, it says the word that was sown in their hearts. And so the ground, each of these ground things symbolizes the heart. So that's one thing to note. Sometimes people may have a misunderstanding that they symbolize the person. And so that's initially how I interpreted it to be. I thought they were individual people, like that people were by the stony ground, that people were the thorny ground, and that people were the wayside ground. I thought that they were people, but it's more specifically, it says it's the heart, and that's one interesting thing to note that I did not notice before, and that'll play an important role in some interpretations that we learn later. So one thing to note is that there's a lot of sermons about the sower and the seed, and I'm not gonna rehash like any specific sermon that I've heard in the past specifically, in a way. But yeah, it's all over the internet, and there's plenty of online sermons, plenty of normal sermons about the topic of the sower and the seed. So I encourage everybody to go and look up, the various interpretations and the various teachings about what the sower and the seed are talking about. But some of the food for thoughts and my 2 cents about this, things that I've learned in the past that really helped me to understand the sower and the seed, is up at the top right here. And these are they which are sown in good ground, such as hear the word and receive it, and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, and some 100. And so I heard from one pastor who shared this with me. In his prayer time, he felt convicted in his spirit that these 30-fold, 60, and 100 were kind of like percentages. And so 30-fold would be kind of like 30%, or about 1/3. 60-fold would be about 60%, or about 1/6. 100 would be like 100%. And I think that there's some merit to thinking it in terms of percentages. I don't know everything about Jewish culture in the past, but I think there's some Jewish meanings behind numbers, and I think that some of the meanings, or maybe from another culture, but regardless of where it came from, I do believe that there's some merit to thinking it in terms of 30%, 60%, and 100%. And so it's according to that pastor, he said it was how much fruit of the Holy Spirit that you have being produced in your heart. And he said that for every Christian, every true Christian who finishes their walk with God, they all have at least 30-fold. So at least 1/3 or 30-fold, 30% fruit active in their lives. And some may have more, and some may have 100, or a few may have 100. And so, yes, I want to be the part that has 100, but that's just me, or that's me. But yeah. But anyway, so that's another thing that I learned about this parable that I didn't really know before. So let's see. Other words. Oh. Here's another one. It came to pass as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up. So this one, it's the fowls of the air, or the birds of the air, but he equated that symbol of birds of the air with Satan. And so for dream interpretations and other parables where Jesus talks about birds, if you substitute the devil, demons, or Satan where the word bird appears, you may be able to obtain additional understanding of the dream or interpretation. Like, for example, in a way, one of the things, let me look this up. Okay, so this is a parable. This is the dream that Joseph interpreted for the baker whenever he was still in jail, and he was in jail, and with him were a baker and a cupbearer, and he gave an interpretation for the cupbearer, and so the baker wanted an interpretation too, so he gave an interpretation for the baker's dream, but the baker's dream was actually turned out to seem like a lot more worse than the cupbearer's dream. And here's we could read it to see what it says. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there was all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, This is an interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off thee. And so that wasn't the most happiest of interpretations, according to what it seemed like. And I wanted to bring that up because a lot of times in dreams and in other parables, the symbol for Satan sometimes is birds. So in that baker's dream, the birds were eating the bread off of his head, and he ended up being hung on a tree by his head. And so in a way it might be like Satan eating the bread, eating the good stuff off of the baker's head. So Satan is eating something up, and it turned out that he kind of attacked the baker. The baker died. So yeah, birds is oftentimes symbolic of Satan and devils and demons. Ground is symbolic of the hearts of humans. Let's see, stony ground might be a hardened heart. It doesn't sink that deep. So stony ground might symbolize a hardened heart, where the word doesn't have much, where there's not that much depth of good soil, because the heart's hard. Some things of the world still have not passed. Yeah. Let's see. The sun, the heat of the sun is symbolic for persecution sometimes. Thorns is symbolic for deceitfulness of riches, deception, the worries of the world, the cares of the world. And the good ground bared fruit. Now, okay, so we're nearing about the 30-minute mark, and each episode of this Parable Bible Talk is about 30 minutes. I try to keep it short. But we're gonna wrap it up with this other neat thing that I found out about the parable. So, one big thing about each and every parable is that the parable doesn't just end with the words on the page. The parable is actually a story, an analogy of symbols that encompass the entire situation, the entire picture. Like, for example, most people, when they see the parable of the sower and the seed, they stop at just the text in the Bible. But you could delve additional meaning when you think more critically on the different aspects of it, like soil. What does soil do? What's in the soil? How do we make the soil fertile? How do we till the soil? How do we break up the soil? How do we soften the soil? Like, for example, I did not know, whenever I first heard about the parable of sower and seed, I was concerned because I'm like, oh no, I'm the stony ground, or oh no, I'm the one by the wayside, or oh no, I'm the one that's being choked by the cares of this world. I thought that they were people, which now I don't think that. Like, I think that it's the hearts of the people, but more importantly, even if you were the wayside, or even if you were the stony ground, or even if you were the ones by the thorns, right? Even if your heart is that way, God can always change it. And I worried that if I was the wayside or the stony ground, that I would continually be the wayside or the stony ground. That I was stuck in that almost kind of maybe predestination type kind of predicament, where I was just stuck there, and if I wasn't good soil from the beginning, then I wasn't going to be good soil. And which is not the case. God's love and mercy is greater than that, much greater than that. And so in this parable, the sower, the missing link, the missing piece of the puzzle is that there's a sower, a man who can, with gardening tools and farming tools, can break up the stony ground and sort out the stones. He can break up the wayside and dig it up, flip it over, throw manure, throw fertilizer on it, and soften it up. And he could de-weed or weed out the thorns, the weeds and the thorns. And he could break up the ground, soften it up, sort out all the trash and all the stones, all the weeds, all the rocks of the wayside. And he could add water to it, bring soil from other places to fertilize it, add manure, add compost, and he could make any of those other three bad heart conditions and soils. He can make all those other soils good soil. So you're not doomed if you were the wayside, or if you were the stony ground, or if you were the thorns. If deceitfulness of riches had you in the past, if Satan took the word out of your heart in the past, if you ran away from persecution or gave up when persecution hits in the past doesn't matter anymore when God changes you and makes you better, and you repent and you move up higher and further along in the walk of faith. And so yeah, I really treasure that outlook. I did not know that entirely before. So that's one example of learning more information outside of just the text on the page. When Jesus talked about the parable, he didn't want the people to just take his words and just only focus on his words. He wanted them to think about the parable, to think about how it applied to their lives, to think about, like, okay, so this is soil. What does soil mean to me? What does soil mean to my mom? What does soil mean to my dad? What does soil mean for my flocks and my animals? Thinking critically about these different parables. So that's what this live stream and what my content's going to be mainly about. So it's parables, that's one thing, but learning stuff outside of the parables still related to the parables, and applying it to things in life, mysteries, riddles, dream interpretations, and the rest of the Bible. So I hope that's a nice intro. 30 minutes is kind of short. I might want to make it longer in the future. We'll see. But I'll keep it around 30 minutes for right now. So we're right at the 30-minute mark. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And remember, this parable is the parable to understand and to know all other parables. So you can connect every other parable to some kind of thing in this parable. And so if you think critically outside of the box and extrapolate it to infinity, you might be surprised how really relevant and really all-encompassing this parable is to everything else in life. So, and I don't know all of it yet, but I'm starting to see some details here and there about how it can apply. So yes, all right. That's pretty much it. Yep. Oh yeah. Here are my social links at the bottom. You can find me in all of those places with all of those usernames. And if you want to donate to support me, feel free to. You can donate here at projectanthony.com/donate. Oh, and another thing too before I let you go is I have a website. It's projectanthony.com, where you can find my latest live streams. Yep, just click on the live streams. You'll find links to all the times of my different live streams. You can also click on it. Yep, wait for it to load. You can also click on it and you can add it to your Google Calendar right here. Yep. And it'll automatically repeat too, so you don't have to constantly enter it into your calculator. So I live stream right now. The plan is every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope you guys can join. All right.